Coming up on 90 Day Fiancé Unfiltered, Jasmine and Gino's divorce is on, and it's already super messy. The TLC editing snafu that revealed who hates Pattiya. Plus, when did Julia give birth? Let's uncover all the clues. I have cast updates and recaps from this week's brand new episodes of Happily Ever After and The Other Way straight ahead. Hi, everyone. Happy Halloween week. The Happily Ever After tell-all has already given us plenty of tricks and treats, even though it hasn't even aired yet. And the ghost of 90 Day Diaries is haunting us. There are some scary reports online, terrifying really, that 90 Day Diaries will not return to our screens until early December. What the heck happened? It started airing a few weeks ago. We got 2 episodes and then disappeared with no statement from TLC. But this popped up in the last week or so. There are unsubstantiated reports. I can't figure out where these came from, and they are, again, not official in any way. But allegedly, 90 Day Diaries will begin airing again in the first week of December, and it may also move to Mondays, which is very interesting, right? Because does that mean that it will be replacing The Other Way when it wraps, or does it mean that it'll be replacing Seeking Sister Wife and air in that second-hour slot after The Other Way? We will have to wait and see. I can't wait until 90 Day Diaries returns. All of that hullabaloo about the scheduling also made me realize that it has not yet been announced what is going to take over the Sunday night 90 Day slot when Happily Ever After finally concludes. We have one more episode left, the big finale, and then the tell-all, which I have heard is up to as many as 4 parts. So traditionally, we would know by now what is premiering in the next 6 weeks, and there has been nothing announced by TLC PR. So I will keep you all posted on that. Can't wait to see what's coming up next. But first, there is all kinds of drama going down on Happily Ever After. But we got to jump into a little news of the week regarding Happily Ever After stars Jasmine and Gino. There has been lots of talk, especially this week on the show, about whether they would divorce or not, why it hasn't happened yet. And fans are dying to know what's going on. So here is the scoop. It's juicier than you even ever could have imagined. This is the real off-camera drama that's going down in real time. So supposedly Jasmine filed for divorce in August. That was quite a while ago, but here's the twist, you guys. She wasn't able to serve Gino the papers at his home in Michigan, despite repeated attempts to do so. In that case, you hire somebody to serve the other party the papers. Well, this person couldn't catch Gino over at his home in Michigan. So what Jasmine had to do, it's the legal next move in that situation, is publish about the divorce in the paper, which she did in her local paper in Florida. No chance of Gino seeing that. That publication happened on September 19th. In addition to that, it's important to note Jasmine is still talking about the money that she says Gino owes her. We've all heard a lot about what Gino thinks he is owed, and there's a catch to that as well. But she is still saying that the money that he was paid for the show, which she didn't get any of because she didn't have a work permit yet, that some of that money belongs to her. What does Gino's lawyer have to say? Well, he was talking this week. He is on retainer, and he says that Gino has also filed for divorce, and very importantly, that he did it a couple weeks before Jasmine in Michigan. But the lawyer explains that what's going on here is that Jasmine has refused to accept service of the case in Michigan, and that's why she is seeking her own alternate service. This is a lot of legal mumbo jumbo for her own case in Florida. My question there is, if Gino had indeed served Jasmine with the papers a couple weeks beforehand, then why, A, did she feel like she had to file in the first place? It would have been moot. Second of all, why then would she make so many attempts to try to serve him at his home? And why then did he not just allow himself to take the papers and be served if he knew that he had already beaten her to the punch and it didn't matter anyway? I am not buying Gino and his lawyer's story here. You guys have to tell me what you think. I know you all are doing your own sleuthing as well. And just as Jasmine wants her money, Gino wants his too. He's still talking about that $70K that he added up. We all saw it on the show. He's talking about what he paid for their wedding, her green card application, etc. And his lawyer says he wants Gino to go after Jasmine for every penny of that. Good luck, bro. Man, it could not be any messier. Isn't it odd that the baby is not the biggest contention in this divorce? Really, it seems like money is going to be the biggest issue between Gino and Jasmine as they duke it out in court. Very interesting. What about what went down this week on camera on the episode of Happily Ever After? I am so excited for the finale next week and then the tell all to start airing right after that. I was disappointed though this week we got no tell all preview during the airing of Happily Ever After. I even checked the other way and Sister Wives too to see if they snuck it in there. But the last couple weeks on the show, we've gotten this 15-second teaser for the tell all where we got to see some of the cast that were there, see how they were dressed, and catch some of the interactions that were happening. We saw Guillermo and Yara talking about her cheating, and then Loren and Alexi still going back and forth about the text messages. So where I was watching on YouTube TV, no preview this week. I think though that some of you saw something because there is a screenshot floating around out there of Darcey at the tell-all, and she looks gorgeous. So if you guys did get to see that preview for the tell-all this week, please comment below and let everybody know what was going down in it. Who did you see and what were they talking about? Because a whole nother 2 weeks away is going to be a long time to wait. We did get plenty of drama between all the cast though this week. Let's jump right into why hadn't they filed for divorce much sooner? We got all those juicy details and clearly it is a mess once it finally started going down, but everybody wanted to know why it hadn't happened yet. Gino is on a mission this week though. He says he finally is interested in filing for divorce, and that's because Jasmine just wasn't apologetic enough to him last time they talked. This guy is on a power trip and it is not a good look at all. But he did finally talk about his first wife. We have not heard much about Gino's first marriage on the show. It was mentioned early on in he and Jasmine's relationship because she was jealous, of course. This was another Latin woman that Gino was married to before. And we hadn't heard a lot about how that marriage went or how it ended until this week. Gino talked about it, but there was no juice. There was nothing dramatic that he described, nothing that went down between them to cause his first marriage to blow up. And that made me think that perhaps in this situation then, is Jasmine the drama, right? If Gino could have a drama-free marriage and divorce one time, is she now the common denominator that's making the issue? Something to think about. What Gino's thinking about is that he feels like he really was used for a green card. I kind of thought up until this point, like he was just trying to make Jasmine sound as bad as possible, trying to make the situation sound as calculated on her end as possible. We were all watching in real time. They were both into it. It seems like they got married because it was the next step to being on the show, not because Gino was being used for a green card. I'm really curious though to hear if you guys all agree with me on that. Gino thinks that Jasmine deserves to be deported. That is such strong language and something that I don't agree with at all. He goes on to even say, I want her to feel some pain like I felt pain. It doesn't matter what gender of person is saying that. I'm telling you, even if it were Jasmine or a woman saying this about their estranged husband, this would come off very wrong. That is a gross thing to say. And I think it really, Gino is doing himself a disservice here by letting us so far into his vengeful mindset. And he sure has a lot to say for somebody who still has no proof that his wife cheated. He keeps talking about that that's what happened. We all know that they agreed to an open marriage, so you got to give us more, bro. He even says he told the whole situation to immigration twice and that he submitted all the paperwork, but he's not showing us any phone records, any timelines, nothing that says that Jasmine cheated. And the whole fact of filing his complaint against her to try to get her charged with marriage fraud, he filed that twice. Isn't that a bad move? Doesn't that just clog up the system and give you like 2 case files that makes things problematic in the future? Gino says it was important because in the second filing, he included the fact that Jasmine was now pregnant, which he thought would help his case. He is learning this week that that is really a huge problem for him. Did Gino not Google this divorce at all? Did he not say, hey, ChatGPT, here's my situation with my estranged wife. How is this gonna go when I talk to a lawyer? He seemed to have a lot of ideas about how the financial end shakes out, but he did not know that her being pregnant would mean that he could be considered the father, would not know that he could be financially responsible for her child. Do a little digging before you pay a lawyer to tell you what the issue is, Gino. He even explains that he is waiting for the stock market to crash before he files for divorce so that he holds on to more of his own personal wealth. Is this still the same man who, when Jasmine came over finally on the K1 visa, quit his job just because he wanted to spend more time with her, i.e., because he knew he was getting paid from the show? Now he's so concerned about his future? It was a lot of really extreme what ifs that the lawyer explained to Gino, a lot of dramatic talk about what could happen to really just wrap it up with, or the father who claims paternity could really just write an affidavit to the court and then you'd be fine. Oh, okay. Well, we don't really think that Matt is an incredibly responsible person, but I'm sure you could get him to do that, at least claim paternity for his own daughter. We also learned this week through Gino's meeting with his lawyer a little bit more about Jasmine's visa, her green card, and that it is conditional. Right now, she is on a 2-year green card, and Gino will have to sign off for her to get a permanent one, which Gino says, hell no, he is not going to do. No surprise there, but there is another avenue. If Jasmine is divorced at that time, then she doesn't need him to co-sign. She can file for her permanent green card all by herself. And Gino does not want that to happen. More manipulation and calculation from Gino when he is the one who is accusing her of the same. And it seems like she might have a plan. We've talked here about how Jasmine has started to use the word abuse against Gino in some of her social media postings. She calls what Gino is doing to her right now financial abuse, which is a very real thing. She has talked about human trafficking and how that might be involved in her case. So Jasmine seems like she does have a plan, and I think this might be it. So there is, or at least there used to be, who knows in this climate of America, VAWA, which was the Violence Against Women Act. This is something that is on paper here in the United States saying that if someone is abused while they are here on a conditional green card, that they can actually file under this VAWA Act to get a permanent green card. This is something that has been tried by other 90-day folks in the past, as also something that is commonly used by lawyers to get what their client wants. And in this case, what Jasmine wants is citizenship. So if Jasmine can prove that she suffered abuse from Gino in some way, shape, or form, it's possible she'll be able to use that as an avenue to permanent citizenship. So that is something to keep in mind as their divorce plays out off camera, because they are done going at it on camera until a tell-all when they finally all sit down together, Gino, Jasmine, and Matt, for the first time. Will baby Matilda be there? She entered the world this week before the very contrite scene where Jasmine and Matt go off to the baby birthing class. So on the show, Jasmine is 37 weeks along at this point, and there's a lot of baby stuff on this episode for me. I gotta say, I don't relate to a lot of this, and I don't particularly enjoy seeing them go bouncing the balls and talk about giving birth and all of that. Matt didn't really seem that into it either. I'm wondering how it is not unattractive to Jasmine how immature Matt is, how unprepared he is, and how cute he thinks it is. On top of all of that, that he doesn't know these things that he should know when he's about to be a dad any minute. How is Jasmine just not so turned off by that she's not like, ew, get out of my sight and don't even come with me? To Matt's credit, though, when they were in the class talking about how a woman can tear and that there are some massages that can be done before birth to get the area ready for that to minimize tearing, Matt was like, I've never heard of that. And I will give this to Matt. I had never heard of that either. So I've never been to birthing class or done any research on how to have a baby, but that seems like the kind of thing that women would talk about. I know there's a lot of concern always about the tearing. And so that's something that I feel like women should talk about. Hey, it's okay. Just do a little prep and you'll be good. Thank you, Matt, for introducing the world to tear-free pre-massage. I don't know what the medical term is. But Jasmine does see the effort that Matt is putting in, or so she says. We still don't see it. And do we even really believe her? Why is she letting him act like such an idiot on camera then? If Matt really is supporting her, if he really is trying hard, if he really does care and he really does get it, then why is she letting him say such stupid crap when they're at the class, when they're in the car, when she is about to have her baby? I just don't understand. She is very savvy. She is very good at all of this. And it's clear that she's coaching him on what to say and do on social media. I'm guessing the next time we see them on camera, i.e. at the tell-all, he will be a little better coached than he was in these episodes of their early relationship. Matt wanting to go back to bed instead of having a baby that night because it was like 1 a.m. and he was tired was kind of gross. He was clearly copping an attitude. How incredibly audacious of him to be so inconvenienced when she is having a baby, literally having contractions. Like, dude, come on, again. Like, she could have poked him in the ribs there. They were sitting there in front of the camera that she had clearly set up. Production wasn't there and been like, bro, act like you care right now. It is time. It is go time. Give me any fake enthusiasm that you can, please. It was late at night. They had to drive over an hour to the birthing center. Why is that just a thing now? Why have they not thought of that ahead of time? Is it because it's so late at night that they had to go to another one further away? Is it because that's the one where they would allow footage out? It didn't look like there was a full crew there. Maybe it was just Jasmine setting up her camera, but there are a lot of reasons why I'm guessing you wouldn't be able to film or show the video from a birthing center. That could be part of why they had to use one that was so far away, but that definitely would have been something they would have known beforehand, and you'd think would have been something they were prepared for in some way. You got to make a plan. How many times on TV have we seen the parents doing the fake drive to the place to see how long it'll take? Like, grab the bag, grab the pregnant woman, get in the car, do the whole thing. That would have actually been kind of a cute scene. TLC, you really had a missed opportunity on that one. It was definitely a tense drive there, but when they got there, everything seemed to happen pretty quick, at least from the viewer's standpoint. Jasmine just popped out that baby like a champ. No epidural, no nothing. I have to say that might be the absolute top most respectable thing that any human can do. And yes, it's something that only half of the humans can do. Serving in our military also. If anyone says to me, I have risked my life for the safety of others, or I gave birth to a baby with no epidural, you can do no wrong. You can do whatever you want, say whatever you want. You are far above the rest of us. Congratulations, Jasmine. And I think we have to go back after seeing that to saying grace for Jasmine, Team Jasmine, as we all were here on 90 Day Fiancé Unfiltered before she ate those ribs. So maybe baby Matilda will be vegan, and then we will really be able to applaud Jasmine over here on this show. Matt has changed in the midst of all this baby birthing as well. They always say this is what happens to first-time parents, and you can just see it on Matt's face. He does seem different. After baby Matilda is born, he finally gets it. He's talking about how vulnerable she seems and how it's his job to protect her. He's tearing up in the interview. It's just like all first-time parents ever, whether they are excited or want to be involved or scared or whatever it is, are always like, this actually is the best feeling ever. I love my child more than anything ever in the world. Matt is clearly feeling that, and it was really cute to see it. I will be curious to see if he can maintain that enthusiasm and that kind of sense of responsibility as Matilda gets older. Jasmine declared that all that mess is worth having her perfect angel here in the world now. So what I noticed though is when baby Matilda was born this spring and the press asked Jasmine about her name, Jasmine claimed that she'd named baby Matilda that after the movie Matilda, with a little girl who has special powers and really gets it over on all the adults in the film. Jasmine said she liked the girl power message of that film and would really like her daughter to be like Matilda, and that was why she chose the name. Such a dumber explanation on Happily Ever After this week when she said, oh, it's just this joke where I call Matt Matilda, so that's the name we decided. That was a very lackluster explanation of the name. And also, if I was baby Matilda, wouldn't be how I would want my name to be inspired. So I think Jasmine better pick one, and I hope she goes with the movie and not some dumb joke. Was Matt's Instagram post this week a joke? Or is he being a daddy to Jasmine's other two sons? So there's always a lot of fan conversation about this. Where are Jasmine's other two kids? Who is taking care of them? We know they're in Panama with her family, possibly one of them with his dad. I'm talking about JC and Fiancé, who got a shout out from Matt this week on Instagram when he posted the tow truck that he allegedly bought on the show for 150 grand last week. He said, I bought this truck not just for my girls, but also my boys. Parentheses, Fiancé, JC, end quote. He wanted us to know exactly who he was talking about. People, please tell me, does anyone out there believe that Matt is being a dad in any way, shape, or form to Fiancé and JC? Does anyone think that he is building a meaningful connection with them through phone and video calls, that he is involved in their lives in any way that he even could be from this far away when he's never met them in real life to our knowledge? I'm not buying that. This is part of what I was talking about, that Jasmine has gotten good at coaching Matt on social media. She doesn't like the narrative that she just abandoned her other two kids, and now she's gotten Matt involved in trying to make us all think that that is not the case. It's usually just her pleading her case. So I'm going to keep my eye out for any kind of evidence that Matt and those boys truly are interacting and connecting in any meaningful way. I hope that they are. Matt wasn't the only new daddy this week on Happily Ever After. Julia and Brandon continue to mess with us all. She is clearly not pregnant in the tell-all preview that we saw last week, but we are just finding out this week on the show, one episode before the finale, that Julia and Brandon are expecting. So this gave Julia and Brandon free reign to finally post all these pictures and videos from the time of her being pregnant, from her finding out. And I have to say, it pissed me off a little bit seeing this video on Instagram that they posted of her with the pregnancy test, kind of reminiscent of what we saw on the show, that scene. But her dad is there pretending to be pregnant as well. It's kind of a joke, but this gave me so many questions. So did she really find out she was pregnant while her parents were there that first time? Did they go see her parents when they were in Europe and she was already pregnant? Did it there? Did Julia's mom and dad come back to the US sometime? It seems like that visit that we saw was maybe not even this last summer, but the summer before. So again, I just have more questions, and I do not really appreciate Julia and Brandon chastising us like this. No, we can't figure it out. What is with this timing? Julia even made a joke about it online too. She said, I am tired of being silent. Yes, we had triplets. The babies aren't Brandon's. We were worried they'd look like Betty. I did get pregnant on our trip to Europe, so I have been pregnant for over a year. So there we go. Julia confirming all the crazy details to us. And again, just teasing us more. We don't need that. We are already tortured. On the episode, though, the timeline is that it has been 5 months since Julia and Brandon took their trip to Europe. They went to 9 different countries in 1 month. Holy moly. And they allege that they had to return early because Julia didn't sell her apartment. Surprise, surprise. We were speculating the entire time that really they were just going to spend the money that they got from being on the show this season and that she wouldn't have to sell her apartment at all. I am glad to hear she didn't do that. And also, I want to note that she is drinking in a lot of the photos from their trip to Europe. So add that to our timeline, which 3 weeks later, after when they initially picked up cameras again, from what we're seeing here, was the big moment. Julia finding out that she is pregnant by taking a test and then showing that to Brandon. That seemed like a very real moment to me. Brandon's reaction, the whole setup of it. Brandon and Julia are really good at keeping us guessing, but they're not very good actors. So I really bought that this was truly the moment when she revealed to her husband that they were going to have a baby. It did oddly sound, though, like she takes a lot of tests, because she was talking about this being the one time when she didn't record herself looking at the results. So for someone who wasn't even sure she wanted to have a baby, it sounds like she was taking a whole lot of pregnancy tests, hoping for one maybe. Let's talk about that a little bit. So we find out that Julia never had the surgery that was suggested to her by the doctors when they went to talk about their fertility. And Julia says on this episode, she declares that she is proud of herself for getting pregnant without a doctor's help. She is referring to the surgery because she talks about some advice she got from her doctors about diet and vitamins, hormones, that kind of a thing. And she did take that advice. But so if she is wording it like she got pregnant on her own, is what she's saying, without medical help, is that what she's been talking about on social media in all these posts about doing the pregnancy on her own? We thought she was teasing a fake breakup with Brandon, but maybe that's what she was alluding to. Whatever she is saying on social media, it is working, because just a little sidebar here, she also posted that in the last month on Julia's Instagram, she has had almost 20 million views. So all that stuff about being sick, did she have the baby? Did she not? Is she pregnant? Is she not? It all brought a ton of eyes to her, and I'm guessing a lot of sales for her Kingdom of Dogs subscription box too. So we're the fools, guys. Joke is on us. We did learn on the episode that Julia is super superstitious about the baby and the baby's arrival. Those are some things that she gets from Russian traditions, but also she is just superstitious about telling people that she's pregnant and all of that. That is something that I think a lot of people can relate to. And I can imagine that when you have something so precious and special inside of you, that you kind of just want to hold on to it just for yourself. But she's got, the doctors told her, a perfect baby. And then she's got garlic aioli. So what is she worried about? Oh yeah, she's worried about Betty, and she is justified in that. Does anyone blame Julia for wanting to hold on to this news longer? In the episode at the end, it says that she hasn't seen Betty and Ron since she got back, and that was 5 months later. So it seems like Julia's relationship with them is extra fractured at this time. And even if it was as good as it usually is, I would not blame her for wanting to keep her secret a little longer and for not wanting Ron and Betty to be getting involved at this point. But we are going to hear that Ron and Betty are the ones who are taking care of the baby, while Brandon and Julia are in NYC filming the tell-all, probably. Moving on to some couples who are all parents and mostly have been acting very childish during this season of Happily Ever After. I'm talking about the OG3 couples who are still in Lake Placid. And Loren wanted to really make sure that Yara believed her, that she wasn't talking shit about her, before Loren picks up her suitcases and leaves in a huff. Loren keeps making herself look guilty with the things that she is saying to Yara and the way that she is handling Elizabeth telling Yara that she was talking about her. And this scene didn't really help. So Loren and Alexei did end up leaving Lake Placid early, which meant that, FOMO, they missed out on one of the absolute stupidest scenes ever that has ever played out, not just on the 90 Day franchise, I think in the history of reality TV. We'll talk about it. But first, when they are in the car on the way to this stupid scene, Elizabeth and Andre find out that Loren and Alexei left early, and Elizabeth's like, oh, really? What happened? Girl, that was almost convincing, but Elizabeth, you know what you did. Elizabeth thought that Yara wouldn't tell Loren what she had said, and that's how Elizabeth thought she was going to get away with it. Why would Elizabeth admit that to the fans, to the cameras? She is looking so far beyond calculated this season. It's not even cute. So I have to ask you guys, because I could not have been less entertained. Did anyone out there think that the Sasquatch hunting scene was cute or funny or engaging? Did you find it suspenseful at all? Was anyone out there waiting for them to actually see a Sasquatch? I have to know. Am I just being a downer here? Is Sasquatch hunting a super fun time? I just can't. I was glad to hear, though, that their guide guy was just acting, because I did not like the way that he spoke to Yara, especially when she first got out of the car. So it seems like that was just a character that he was being, especially when he was like, I've never been out this far in the woods before. And everyone watching, everyone has commented online, like, we can see the cabins in the background. One of them was probably where that guy lives. So I just wasn't buying it. And I get that it was a fun, cute little place for them to discuss the drama, but the OG3 have given us absolutely nothing, and this Sasquatch scene did not help. We should go Silva sister spotting instead. Now that sounds like more fun to me. This week on the episode, Darcey was crying while Stacey is beaming. This made me laugh. At the very beginning of their conversation, Stacey walks into Darcey's room and she is maybe still a little buzzed. She got some the night before. It's like a walk of no shame Stacey's on, and it is hilarious to me. But Stacey's there to help Darcey talk out what had happened with Georgi and really get to the bottom of it. I did notice though that Stacey immediately, when they start talking, she was like, "Did you say something to make Georgi leave?" I was surprised that Stacey didn't just automatically back Darcey up. And that's a good thing. When I think about Darcey possibly being single again, this was so interesting to me to explore a little bit. And you know who immediately came to my mind is Christine Brown from Sister Wives. She got remarried in the last couple years to a wonderful man. She is head over heels in love. They act like teenagers a lot of the time, and she talks about it being the first for a lot of things for her, of really truly feeling in love, of having a wedding that was really hers. And I could just see Darcey finding the perfect guy for her. There does have to be someone who wants to listen to her, who wants to help bring her down when she does get a little over dramatic, someone who does want to build a life with her, how she talks about building a life and growing and thriving. There might be a perfect guy out there for her, just like Christine found her perfect guy in David. But Darcey isn't going to find that person if she's wasting her time with the wrong one. I hadn't really thought that negatively about Darcey and Georgi's marriage yet, but when that occurred to me, I really thought like, oh, wouldn't that be great for Darcey too? And then she could look to Sister Wives as her inspiration. It seems like Darcey wants to have some sort of movie inspiration in mind for every scene of the show. It's like her outfit and the whole thing. This one was Sex and the City. It's heartbreak, it's cosmos, it's cleavage. She was giving it all to us. She always looks so good. And the producers know exactly what they're doing when they zoom in on her mouth, taking a sip from that martini glass. It's kind of mean. Anytime that Darcey is on screen, pretty much all people can talk about is the way that she looks. TLC knows that. So it's a little shady when they're giving us extra close-ups when they know how fans are going to react to that. Before Darcey can even get a couple drinks in, though, Georgi starts pouring out his heart. I was so surprised to hear some of the things he was saying. He was going so deep. He said, "I really care about you. Darcey, I really love you." And I thought, oh, there it is. There's the moment. She's going to see it in his eyes and everything's going to come together. They are going to decide from here on out to forge together into a happy marriage. And Darcey barely even blinked at his admission. Instead, she was like, "Really? Well," she just sort of brushed off his nice words and kept arguing with him. It seemed like he was finally giving her what she had asked for. So I was confused why she didn't take a little more time and appreciate hearing that from him. She's so far gone already. She is so upset. She says she is just exhausted and she doesn't even want to talk anymore. And that's when Georgi brings up the idea of talking about him having kids. He starts by talking about going over to Bulgaria, seeing his sister and her kids, and his family asking about his intentions in that regard. So if Darcey's already exhausted and over it, you can bet this conversation is going to go a place that is terrifying probably for both of them. I couldn't tell from the way that it ended or from the preview for next week if Georgi says, "But I've decided that I'm fine not having kids," or if he says, "I've decided I want to start now and this is over." We will have to wait and see. So next week on Happily Ever After, there will be more baby and mama drama. Julia is now 5 months along and still hasn't told Ron and Betty about the baby, and she still doesn't want to. We'll see how that goes. Then Gino will learn that Jasmine had her baby. We'll get to judge his reaction a little bit and see maybe what his true feelings are in addition to wanting revenge. And then Georgi will continue this conversation about whether he wants to have kids, but Darcey stops him. How will that conversation end? Well, what about this conversation? Finally, maybe the OG3 are going to give us something next week. Jovi will call out Andre for always starting drama. He is not wrong there. And then Jasmine will meet Matt's mom. Finally, Matt's mom is crying hysterically about not wanting them to go to hell because of this situation. Jasmine laments there is no way that Matt's mom is going to accept their relationship. And then the preview cuts to a scene of Matt proposing to Jasmine with a string. So that is clearly a spur of the moment thing, not something that he thought about ahead of time or that he actually wants. And I'm guessing it'll be a big old dumpster fire of a marriage proposal. Cannot wait for that. Now let's forget about babies and timelines for just a moment for the people who are in vacay mode, who are going the other way. Let's recap last night's brand new episode. Manon is shocked that her whole family is coming to Ben's baptism, but I gotta remind her, girl, don't be too flattered. It's probably just for the cameras. I feel the exact same way as Anthony does about organized religion, Catholicism specifically. And I could really relate to his qualms about Ben getting baptized there. I thought that he handled it really maturely. And I'm sure when you are parents, there is a lot of compromise that needs to happen. So I will be looking in the future for a time when Anthony really puts his foot down about something that has to do with Ben. And I hope that Manon handles it in the same way that Anthony handled the baptism. After church, they all get together at brunch, and that conversation about the sausage was really just a little too much, regardless of what language everybody at the table speaks. I don't think that Manon would feel that it was appropriate to talk about her husband's sausage in front of her whole family if she wasn't a strong mojito or two in at that point. Manon's parents handled her beautifully, though. I could see how that was sort of an overwhelming moment for her. They gave her a really kind pep talk, and it was really nice to see that her parents were there for her in that moment. Looks like that's going to happen again next week. But before we get there, there's a lot more the other way action that we must discuss. Although it was another pretty short scene from Chloe and Johny. We have barely seen them on the show, I feel like. And even the scene this week was a continuation of the one from last week. It was the same day in real time. So how much did they even film? It's starting to make me wonder, how long were they really together? Or how long was she even there? Let's keep watching. We learned that Johny doesn't drink. And that made me feel like he is even more trustworthy than if he was out there getting wasted while he was at work with the G-string girls, or however Chloe keeps referring to them. So I think she really does not have much to worry about. What was the point of her spying on him too, to see what he was doing at work, if she was going to tell him that she was spying on him? He makes a really good point that she could have easily misseen something that goes on. That boat was way out in the water. You can't see where everybody's hands are. It would have been very easy for Chloe to make something out of nothing in that situation. And I kind of think that's what she was going for. But you know who's not going to let her get away with it? Kaner. I really liked getting to know Kariana and Kaner a little bit better. They're a good juxtaposition for Chloe and Johny, and Kaner has her number. He saw Chloe spying on the boat, and there was such a weird dynamic between Chloe and Kaner. Didn't you think too? It felt to me like they were actually flirting with each other a little bit. And it was just very weird. It made me uncomfortable watching it. And it made me wonder how Johny and Kariana felt sitting there. Because while it all seemed cute, like dramatic for the cameras, it was very sexy. I don't know. What do you guys think? Chloe just immediately does too much all the time. And that's what happened here when they're trying to have a conversation. Really, this could have been valuable for her. She's talking to another couple who are in the same situation. They really understand. Talk to them. How have you guys figured it out? What issues have you had? You know, what's really going on when these two guys go out together? Let's talk about it, not immediately get angry and make demands like, you have to respect me and respect what I say. That does not make a productive conversation. It is also not a healthy relationship. When you're trying to compare who has risked more, who's giving up more, who's sacrificed more for this relationship, how is that healthy? You should both be doing it because you want to, and be looking towards what you're getting out of those sacrifices. You're getting a relationship, you're getting being with Johny every single day, which is what you said at the beginning of the season that you wanted. Chloe being so concerned that Johny is going to cheat on her seems like something that is her fault. It's her problem, not his. And let's not forget that he outed her for talking to other guys too. So is this just a whole lot of deflection? Is she the one who's fooling around? And that's why she cannot get it out of her head that perhaps Johny is doing the same thing? Chloe, it is not a good look. She talked on Instagram this week about how it's difficult for her when the episodes air. Well, you didn't do yourselves any favor at the time, and you were pretty proud of your behavior when you were doing it all on camera, Chloe. So I'm sorry, but you have to just kind of take it all with a grain of salt now. Put your big girl panties on and deal with it. Maybe you'll get a season of the single life out of it. Probably not, because it looks like they're favoring Johny, but we shall see. Now let's go to Tasmania, where it is beautiful. I'm going to talk about Pattiya and Dylan here, but I am really starting to wonder, regardless of how gorgeous it is there, is how is Pattiya going to live in this remote place? She is used to Vegas. She's used to Dallas, Texas. She is used to working the club scene. And this place just seems like a far cry from all of that. But the house that Dylan renovated for them to live in is so nice. It's all new and cute and clean. And I think that that is one of the most well-intentioned things we've ever seen a partner do. That is the most real, thoughtful thing that actually requires effort and time, money, and energy. Dylan having this house ready for them to live in together makes it clear that he wants her there. He wants to build a life together. And it's the thing that we have seen the guy not do on a lot of occasions in a lot of relationships that ended up crashing and burning, that this whole thing made me feel really good for Pattiya and Dylan. It was great too that he saved the furniture shopping. It was a little empty in the house when they first showed it off, but it was good that he saved that for when she's there. He could have gone and just gotten simple stuff that he says is his style, cheap stuff, if he's worried about her spending too much, but he didn't do that. He's going to give her this opportunity to do things differently this time. And Dylan cooks. On top of all of that, can you believe it? Nutritiously. I could not get enough of Dylan talking about what he eats, when, how. So here it is. Every single day, every 2 to 3 hours, 5 times a day, Dylan eats 100 grams of kangaroo, 150 grams of brown rice, and broccoli or green beans, some kind of micronutrients he's making sure he's getting into. So I was so interested in that. Obviously, he's got that thunder down under body going and he is taking care of himself. I didn't even know that people eat kangaroo, and there was a lot of reaction to this online. So I did a little chat GPT, and it's apparently like venison in flavor. Like I was like, does it taste like chicken? No, it tastes like venison, which is something that I did eat a ton of before I was vegan. And it was actually one of my favorite meats. So maybe kangaroo, not so bad. People who've eaten it say it's leaner than beef, firm but tender. And those down under actually say that kangaroo is more sustainable to eat there than beef, which does make sense. So we can applaud that. It's good for the environment, maybe not for the kangaroos, but certainly an interesting thing for us Americans to learn about. We also start to see that whole food thing as part of Dylan's control issues. His very specific meals 5 times a day are what he can control, and he certainly does. So that's an aspect to Dylan's personality that I think we are going to be seeing a lot more of. Did you guys catch the big editing mistake on the other way? So in one of the times when they go to commercial and they're like, when we get back, here's what's going to be going down. And they show Dylan saying to the cameras that his mom, Jo, and Pattiya, quote, hate each other. He used those words in the preview. But then in the scene, when his mom stops by and she and Pattiya are just so nice to each other, all he says is that they don't really get along. What the hell? So which one is it? Do they just not get along, or do they hate each other? And why would TLC show him saying something so extreme and then not give us the payoff in the episode. That's a big no-no. That's something that you don't do in reality TV editing. It makes people feel like they were clickbaited, obviously, to stick around for something that wasn't true. It makes people wonder why and when and where did he say that then? Did they make him say that? Is it not really true? Like, it just comes off as making the whole show look fake. I was surprised they let that slip. I try not to say the same thing every week, but there's some sloppy editing going down lately over there at TLC and sloppy family dynamics. So Dylan's mom wants to share him with Pattiya. I have to say, I do not think that that's how it should be. Once you are in a relationship, especially if they are working towards marriage, it should be Dylan and Pattiya from here on out. I can sort of relate. My mother-in-law had her own life with my father-in-law for a long time. And when he passed away a few years ago, she has really started leaning on my husband, and he really has a lot more responsibility with her the last few years. They even live together when he is on the farm, as he is now working and doing harvest. So I can certainly understand this idea of sharing them. I even sometimes comically refer to my mother-in-law as my sister wife, like when he takes her out to lunch and I haven't seen him for 3 weeks. But I say that with love. And if the situation was different, I really don't think that sharing Dylan is the way for Pattiya and Joe to live together peacefully. But Joe isn't the problem. Unfortunately, I think maybe Dylan is the problem. So what happened is Dylan's mom, Jo, brings up Pattiya's past of overspending. And Dylan says right to her, yep, it's hard to believe that you're better now. My mom's just making sure. Egregious, Dylan. Egregious for him to call his girlfriend out in front of his mom, for him to essentially back his mom up in this situation where she shouldn't have been bringing it up either. And his response should have been to shut his mom down and say, that is our business. She shouldn't know about it in the first place. Or am I wrong in everything I just said? Because shortly thereafter, Dylan reveals that just a week before Pattiya came to Tasmania, she couldn't even pay her rent because she didn't have enough money, but she went on a shopping spree. So perhaps Dylan going so hard and recruiting his mother to get on her case too, maybe they're all right to be as concerned as they are. But again, I think maybe handling it differently next time might be a good idea. His hesitancy to propose to her made a lot more sense after he explained that he is waiting to make sure that she has made some changes in how she moves financially. Yikes, we knew there was going to be a lot there with all of their history and such. I just still can't believe that TLC waited several episodes in to give us Dylan and Pattiya, because they gave us plenty of Greta and Matthew, even though nothing seems to have happened in their storyline. These scenes are so quick with this hour-long show. We do see them briefly, Greta and Matthew. They seem to have discussed nothing before she moved to the UK. They made no plans. They didn't talk about what each of their desires are about housing or family or finances or any of that. And so now them going house hunting is just another glaring reminder of any of that. It is fun to see a house tour in another country. And I was like, ooh, what will the house look like? What is a realtor like there? Do they do it different? But it was all pretty much exactly the same as in the US, and it looked like it could have been any house here in America. So didn't even get cultured in that scene, and Greta and Matthew just gave us a whole lot of nothing burger. Will they give us more next week? Let's look at it. Here's what's going down on the other way. Greta and Matthew are not in next week's episode, so no, they won't be giving us more. But Luke and Madeline, who we didn't see this week, will go back to Luke groveling for Madeline's forgiveness, and then she wonders why men are so effing stupid, and then tells him there is no chance for a reconciliation. We know they got married, so let's just get to the point where they do reconcile. I want to see the helicopter and the wedding and the whole thing. Let's just do it. TLC is really trying to tease us on a whole bunch of things and stuff that we already know, and it's starting to feel a little exhausting. Let's just get there. Let's get to Chloe's mom arriving in Aruba. That will play out on screen next week. And she is going to tell Chloe that she is cutting her off and that Chloe has to get a job. We've seen how Chloe has handled everything thus far, and I'm not guessing that that news will go over well. I'm also thinking that maybe there is no chance we are ever going to see Chloe behave in a manner that is fun to watch on this show, because that's just not going to go well. but I think a lot of people will feel like, ooh, Chloe's gonna get hers. Let's see her go down, which I don't have that kind of animosity towards Chloe, but that should definitely make some headlines. And lastly, next week, Manon will confront her aunt, still there at the baptism brunch, right at the table, and it all ends up outside with Manon bawling and her parents lecturing her that maybe she needs to change her character. So she chose a mojito induced bad time to address some family drama. But I'm guessing it's going to be very juicy to watch, which we all will be. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in here to 90 Day Fiancé Unfiltered every week. I really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, that's where you get all the receipts, all the posts and the videos and the pictures. I want you guys to see what I'm talking about here. You can also listen, though, if you're a podcast person. New episodes of 90 Day Fiancé Unfiltered go up every Tuesday night. And also don't forget, on my YouTube channel, I'm covering all the 90 Day Fiancé updates. I'm working on a video now that will premiere on Thursday, just in a couple of days, that covers all the most jaw-dropping tell-all moments of all time. There are some that you probably forgot about, and some that there is so much more juicy details to that even I didn't know when it was all unfolding on screen. So keep an eye out for my new tell-alls video coming up right on the YouTube channel. If you subscribe there, then you'll get all the latest breaking news right as it happens. I so appreciate you guys doing that and for tuning in every week and for your kind comments. I do see them and I really appreciate you. So please, let's continue to build some community and let me know what you thought of this week's brand new episodes and what you're looking forward to for the Happily Ever After Tell All. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.